Good evening and welcome to this press conference following the EU Environment Council here in Luxembourg. Today's meeting was chaired by German Minister of the Environment, Nature, Conservation and Nuclear Safety, Svenja Schulze. The Executive Vice President of the EU Commission for the Green Deal, Frans Timmermans, joined for the first part of the meeting, and Commissioner Virginijus Sinkevicius, Commissioner for the Environment, Oceans and Fisheries, joined for the second part, and he's also here for the press conference. Welcome. We will begin with statements by the Minister, followed by the Commissioner. Frau Ministerin, Sie haben das Wort.
Minister, you have the floor. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be able to give you an update on the outcome of our Environment Council. And I am particularly delighted to do this today because we had a very successful meeting. I'm happy to be able to report that we had a very constructive, interesting debate on environmental issues, particularly the decision on the EU climate law and the biodiversity strategy. Particularly in this time of pandemic, European cooperation is more important than ever. So I'm delighted that so many colleagues, despite all of the restrictions, were able to attend in person and to do so in order to find solutions to urgent problems in environment and climate dossiers. And of course, at the same time, we did everything we could to ensure that the meeting was safe for participants. We discussed the goal of a climate-neutral Europe by 2050, in line with the climate goals in the Council. So the climate law represents an incredibly important objective within our presidency, and negotiations on the draft climate law were very constructive and were what allowed us today to reach an agreement on the European climate law, although we kept in brackets the exact amount of the 2030 goal. We have not decided on this yet because the heads of state and government decided that a week ago that at their next meeting in December, the heads of state and government, want to discuss this specific objective. But they said that this target will be set this year so that we will be in line with the Paris Agreement objectives in order to hit our UN climate targets as well, and to do so in negotiations with the EP. The Commission proposal on reducing our emissions by 50% was referred to specifically, and in our aim to achieve a climate-neutral continent by 2050, we have laid an important milestone today. As one of the most competitive economic areas in the world, the EU should play a leadership role here, and we intend to have a new ambitious 2030 NDC. That is what the UN goals are called. And this is a very important message to send. 5 years after the Paris Agreement, I think other areas of the world are watching to see what the EU does. We also discussed an important dossier on biodiversity protection. These are crucial parts of the European Green Deal. Protecting biodiversity is now finally being given the importance that it deserves. The COVID pandemic has shown us that the destruction of nature is the crisis in the background behind many other crises. And so it is not only important from a social point of view, but also an economic point of view. And so the Council conclusions on biodiversity were able to be approved today, and the Council endorsed the goals set out therein. We decided that we would call this process endorsing the goals, but implementation requires sufficient funding. We can't just set goals, we want to implement them as well. And with our Council conclusions, we have shown that the protection of biodiversity is a field where the EU intends to set an example, take a leading role in international negotiations, that we have learnt something from our current crisis. Protecting biodiversity isn't just something that's nice to have. If we destroy nature and lose biodiversity, then we will actually be destroying our own environment, the environment we live in. And so we need to ensure that we have sustainable agriculture in harmony with nature. That was something else that we discussed today. The Presidency has therefore been very pleased with the progress made, and we hope to continue this momentum in our upcoming work. But today was a good day for environment and for climate and for protecting biodiversity.